Hey guys, sorry it's been a while and this video is half a year late, but I'm finally going to be talking about my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. Yes, from last year. Yeah, there's some great films this year, last year, and I thought I'd finally talk about them on this channel. I have got all my reviews and thoughts on all the movies and lists and everything from last year's films on my Letterboxd if you want to check that out. But today I'm actually going to be talking about them. Before we get started, I do have tons of honorable mentions, and those honorable mentions are loads of great horror films, including Bones and All, Black Phone, Prey, Pearl, X, Scream 5, Barbarian, The Menu, and a bunch of other great films, including Violent Night, See How They Run, Jackass Forever, White Noise, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Bullet Train, where Elvis, The Northman, Decision to Leave, and Glass Onion. But here are my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. Let's go. Number 10, Nope, a really interesting horror film from Jordan Peele that did take me 2 viewings to fully grasp what he was on about and the scale of the movie, the sort of focus on spectacle and what that means. I think there's a lot of films recently that have really sort of tied the line between blockbuster and art house, and I think Nope was one of them. I thought it was a really complex movie, but it all can be looked at in a very simplistic manner as well, and it is very entertaining and very thrilling with some brilliant visuals. Number 9, Pinocchio, not the Disney live action remake. I'm on about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which was a wonderful stop motion animation filled with heart, sadness, melancholy, and extensionalism. And I thought this was a really beautifully made film, one of the best stop motion animations ever crafted, but it really deepens the story of Pinocchio to new levels. And with Guillermo del Toro's dark fantasy style, I absolutely love this, and it's probably the best version of this story that has ever been crafted. Number 8, The Banshees of Inisherin. What a brilliantly written film. And the performances, the way this film uses the Irish folklore as part of its story, but it's mainly just about two guys who just have a falling out. And it just perfectly portrays that brilliantly uh, from a one sided point of view. And you can really get into the mind of Colin Farrell's character, but you can also understand the other character as well. And that conflict was so brilliantly written with humor. It's actually one of the funniest films this year, but as it goes on, it progressively gets more melancholic, more dark, and it just really dives you in and makes you feel something really powerful. And I thought by the end, this was just one of the best dramas I've seen in a long time. Number 7 is Spielberg's The Fabelmans. If anyone's going to make a pretentious film about filmmaking and understanding their aspiration towards it as a child, then Spielberg is the one that deserves to make a film like this. I mean, it could have gone in a very magical fantasy route from the eyes of this character, but it stays very grounded and realistic. It almost felt like a documentary at times. And loosely based on Spielberg's childhood, I related a lot to the lead character and understanding the family drama at the center. I loved a lot of how it explored how he was perceiving certain events and trying to forge a film out of them and trying to find a way to make a scene out of his life experiences. And that's something I do all the time, and it made me think and it made me relate, but it also immersed me into this character's own journey. I liked the first half a bit more than the last half, I'm not going to lie, but the overall experience of the film I thought was one of the best of the year. Number 6, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. What a absolute surprise. This movie did not have to be this excellent. They really put the work in the animation and in the storytelling. I loved the animation style. I was absolutely blown away by this movie. It's pretty much perfect. Um, I was blown away. I saw it twice in cinemas, and it's just an animated movie for everyone. And whereas a movie like The Fablemans and Banshees of Inisherin, or even Pinocchio, the other movies on this list aren't necessarily movies for everyone. This I thought was. Number 5, Babylon.
I promised you a sight. You're getting a sight.
Babylon is a big 3-hour bombastic movie about movies. First act of this movie just completely whizzed me in, and I was on like a drug-induced trance while watching this movie. It was insane. It was so stressful and energetic, But by the end, it went on and on and on, and it's the most times in a movie where I think I've gone, this is the final shot, and it's not been the final shot. It's filled with unnecessary scenes, and it's very big and pretentious, but it's also extremely entertaining, and it's one of those movies you could just sit down and watch if you just really can't get to sleep, and just liven your mood and just really fill you with a burst of energy for 3 hours. And I was ecstatic towards the end, and I absolutely adored it. It really does show filmmaking, in many different ways, in many different perspectives, and what it means. And you can pick which route you want to agree with. But I thought the lead characters were interesting enough to follow, and I absolutely adored Babylon. I thought it was brilliant. Number four, Avatar: The Way of Water. Blockbusters really came back to form in 2022, I thought, in many ways, in terms of bringing simplicity back to the movies, but also, taking technical leaps forward. And this movie definitely does. I mean, it's just as stunning as the first, with even more boundaries pushed in terms of underwater CG filmmaking. But not just that, this movie's story was effective. I mean, the characters were all brilliantly well realized. And I just found this 3 hour epic to be completely immersive. I saw it twice in like IMAX 3D, and it was just absolutely wonderful. Um, I just adore this movie. I'm not sure if it's going to be one to rewatch at home a lot of times, but just like the first Avatar, this is something that's made for the big screen. It's made just to be immersed into, and if the story is effective enough and technically it's giving you something beautiful and immersive to look at, I don't see an issue with that at all. And again, I think it's a movie that everyone can just sit down and just look in awe and just look at the eye-gasmic CGI wonders that this movie has crafted, and it's just absolutely wonderful. It's a brilliant film. But number three is Top Gun Maverick, another blockbuster of that year that just really brought things back to simplicity, whilst also taking technical leaps forward. And this one takes practical leaps forward. These people are actually flying these jets. I'm not sure how much CG is used, but you can really feel the G's lifting and these characters' faces really, really doing this insane stunts. This is one of the greatest action films of all time. It's way better than the original in nearly every single way. It's just a better version of that film, whilst also being a brilliant sequel. Again, we don't really get many movies like this anymore. I don't usually like saying that, but movies that fully focus on making something completely practical and effective, and I absolutely adored this film. I think it's better than the original Top Gun by far, and I think this is the one that people are going to look back on in the future as that classic. Number two is The Batman. I absolutely adored this film. It's a 3 hour grimy film noir murder mystery featuring Batman, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. Robert Pattinson really seeped himself into this character, and the amount of limited time we got with Bruce Wayne really made this feel like a really much more like a Batman film than any of the others. And in terms of purely visually representing the Batman character, and in terms of the world around him, I thought this was the best Batman movie stylistically. I still love Nolan's films and the story of those movies, but stylistically, this took leaps forward, and every Batman of each generation has taken a different style approach, and this definitely goes in a route that I've always wanted to see. Um, and as a Batman fan, and as a fan of like really gritty film noir sort of things, this put two things I love and meshed them together and made something absolutely brilliant. And I think it's a Batman film that's going to stand the test of time. But nothing beats my number one film of the year, and that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm assuming this is number one for a lot of people. I mean, it won all the plumbing awards and everything, but this movie seriously is miraculous. Like, from an editing perspective, from a performance perspective, from a narrative perspective, it's so simple. But it's so effective in every single way. The emotion and the message doesn't take over the bonkersness of this film and the entertainment value. It's not pretentious. It's not trying to be something more than it is. It's just purely simple multiverse story, yet it really pushes the boundaries of what is possible in terms of filmmaking and how many things you can stitch together and how many things you can connect to one another, and how many different possibilities you can think of to put someone's life into, and all these different worlds that it creates and all these different scenarios that it creates, and the way it puts them all together I thought was absolutely miraculous. And the emotional center of the film I thought was really, really effective and realistic. It was a film that, yeah, I think is going to have an effect on at least everyone who watches it, whilst also being extremely fun, extremely action packed, bonkers, hilarious ideas that, you know, I don't even know why someone would even think that and put it in a movie. But I'm so glad it's there because I had a great time watching it. It's like nothing else you've seen before, really, but it's also a mixture of everything else you've seen before. I just adore this movie. You can't really put it into words. You just have to watch it and go on the ride that it takes you on and see what you feel about it afterwards. But it's one of those wonderment movies. It's just one of those like, how did this get made? I love it. I absolutely adore it. I think it's brilliant. Um, I can't wait to watch it millions more times in the future. And it is my favorite movie of the year. It's just, yeah, it's wow. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Honestly, if there was such thing as an ultimate movie, this movie would definitely be um, in that list. So yeah, there's my favorite movies of 2022. Sorry it came so late. I'll give you my list for my top 10 TV shows of the year as well soon. So thanks for watching and goodbye.